Oh, hi muffins! I thought I'd put together a video for you all to look at in case you're having difficulties getting around the apex windows. I know a lot of you have been sort of saying that you're having to do some soon, and so I thought I'd put together this little video. When I did mine, I couldn't find anything on YouTube and I had to hunt high and low to get any kind of informal information. So I'm going to just show you kind of what I did. Now, this is by no means the exact way that everybody should be doing it. I'm sure there's maybe even better ways of doing it, and it would be really great if you could put all your comments below on how you think it would be better. So let's start with the template. I can't draw, by the way. Right, and this little line going horizontal is called the datum line. So now I'm going to mark all the points accordingly, all the appropriate points. Right, so the measurements you're going to now take are from A to B, B to C, C to E, E to F, C to G, and B to E. So now I'm just writing in the apex measurements, which obviously I'm making them both each side the same, but on some occasions they might be different, so you have to sort of accommodate that. And then obviously take the drop of the curtains is up to the datum line, and you have to mark your curtain from the floor to the datum line so that your template pieces can sit on the datum line when you start laying out the pattern. I've got a piece of black outlining that I'm going to be using for my template. Now you can use whatever you like. So first of all, you mark your centre. Now I've made this curtain just to fit my bench, but obviously it's a dummy curtain. I've got my centre. I've made a right dirty mark with the ruler. Right, I'm now going to get a straight edge tool. I'm using the bottom of a Roman blind bar, as you can see, because my my yardstick is obviously not big enough. So now we're going to join my point down there to the centre point. Now you don't have to do yours in bright green pen. Okay, that's the first one. Now we're going to do this one. Right, now it's time to cut the pieces out. So what you do is, because I've got both sides the same, I can actually turn it in, sort of fold it in half and cut down the middle. So I've got a right and a left side curtain and use that as my template. Obviously you work your pleats out as you normally would for a pair of buckram, styled curtains. Right, so now that you've got your template and you've cut it in half, if you've got the same each side that is, you then start to work out obviously your spaces. You obviously take the measurement and divide it by how many spaces you want or whatever. My spaces are going to be 12.1, so I'm going to go along and just mark out 12.1 all along, so that you've got the sort of like apex line at the top. So I've cut them all out, and then I'm going to be placing them on the fabric in a minute. But first I'm going to mark them from 1 to 10, I think there's 10 altogether, and the last one is a return, and obviously the first one's going to be a return as well. Laid the fabric out flat. Now I'm not going to be doing much of a drop on this curtain, so it won't be like a normal curtain, so if you could just imagine that the length is much longer. So I've done my side 5cm turn in, and then I've put the pattern up against the crease where the turning is, because that's where the first pleat's going to go. The buckram's going to sit into this crease.
Can I just
Right, so you've cut your template into these strips, so you've got the apex shape, but you've got to obviously now include your pleats. So you've got to allow your gaps in between each space to accommodate your pleats. So my pleats are 12 centimetres because I'm doing cartridge, so I'm not doing them very big. So obviously you lay your first space out and you butt it up to the edge where you've done your sort of turn in, which I usually allow about 5 centimetres. And then obviously here I'm just checking. Now when you get to your actual spaces, make sure you allow for the fact that because they're on the slant, they will be bigger than the actual, you know, say 10 centimetres or 12 centimetres you're having as a space. So don't forget that, girls and boys. So just carry on along, you know, doing your spaces and your pleats. Obviously when you do your pleats, they are obviously straight, so make sure that they're, you know, obviously butted up to the actual corner of the space is butted up to the actual edge of the pleat. And obviously make sure it's all straight all the way down. Accuracy is really key with these curtains. I'm sure you all know that anyway, but you know, you've got to get it absolutely accurate as hell. Now I'm going to cut it so that we've got a good sort of 2 to 2.5 inches to turn over. Right, now that you've made your curtain up, imagine that obviously it's a lot longer than this, and you take your measurement from the bottom of the curtain to what we call the datum line, and that's the line that runs horizontally across on the actual square part before it starts to turn into the apex. So you've got, this is going to be your datum line where I've got my pins, so imagine I've pinned from the bottom up to my datum line, which is where the pins are. And that's where you start your first pattern piece, your first template piece. And then you go all the way along, making sure the bottom of the templates are where the pins are. Right, so now that you've got it all cut, you can take away your pattern, your template. Right, this is 8-inch buckram that I'm using. So we lay it onto the curtain. Obviously we've got to lie it so that it's sitting on the points, and we don't want to sort of waste any, so we've got to do it so that we get it right on the points and not before them, because we won't have enough.
Buckram does what it wants, doesn't it?
First of all, I'm going to put a fold just literally a millimetre or two before the fold, so that it folds back, or 1 millimetre, so that you've got that kind of look there. But obviously we're not going to keep all this, we're going to cut it here. We don't want any extra like in normal curtains because it won't look right. Right, so now we've laid the buckram out and obviously cut the 2.5 inches turn-ins, and now I'm going along and I'm literally cutting the buckram to the actual shape, which has to be really accurate here. Now what I did was, on the actual fabric I've actually marked it. Now some fabrics you can't do this, some you can. That one you're never going to see it. Some you have to be really careful, you might have to use a marker that will sort of disappear after a while, or just a fine line. But the thing is, if you don't use something you can see, you're not going to see through the buckram where to cut or where to mark. So you kind of need to make some really good marks on your corner bits, you know, here, so that you can go along and then mark out your lines. So I'm literally now going to just cut all this. Okay, so now that I've got the buckram all in place, I'm going to now start, you know, putting it all together. So I'm going to snip here, literally 2 millimeters from the corner, and then I'm going to fold that over, and then obviously that one will fold over like that. That will get pinned, that will get pinned. Obviously the lining will come up to it and the lining will be cut round them. And then when I get to this bit, I'm literally going to cut to almost the corner again. Just make sure the buckram doesn't move. Now with this one, I do that one there. Now you can get some double-sided tape and put it there if you want. Don't put it here because you won't be able to sew. You won't be able to get your needle in because it will just get stuck on the glue. So you could do that, get some double-sided tape, hold it in place. And when you do this one, I tend to sort of like crease it a little bit like that, so that it goes into a kind of like a neat little crease. Obviously I've got to cut this one. You have to sort of cut it as you're going along really, or cut it first. Right, so you put your lining in. I've a bit naughtily just put it in with the double-sided tape. It feels quite sort of sturdy, but I would definitely sew it if it was for a client. Obviously I wouldn't put double-sided tape in exchange of sewing. So obviously that's the pleat and that's the space. So you're going to turn it over so that corner corresponds with the very edge of the pleat. Okay, obviously do what you would normally do on a pinch pleat or a goblet pleat or whatever, and you put your pin in. There's my ruler. I think I'll make them 18 because that's quite nice for like a nice deep cartridge, but obviously you can make them, you know, you don't have to make them 18. So that one's going to be 18, so I'm going to make sure all the others are 18. My pins are a bit pissed, excuse the because I've been talking about pins lately and how mine are always bent, and I want to get some that don't bend, but there isn't. It's not possible to get ones that don't bend, so we have to just get on with it, don't we? Right, so actually that says 5.5 there. Yeah, it's 5.5. Actually that's all right. That is 5.5. So 5.5 in the middle. I just follow where I've actually put the pin in and not where it's ended up. So you've got your line there, and that's where I'll sew. And then obviously when you turn it out and it's straight, you'll see, girls and boys, that you'll have like a straight edge, and your buckram will, your Velcro will go across here. So you've got your line there, so then it just carries on, and then when they're all together you're just going to have a whole diagonal line, which is your pattern. But make sure when you sew you get it so that it's literally right in the corner and right on the end, or you won't have a straight line. It's got to be like exact, and of course you've got to, you know, you won't have the right measurement if you don't do it exact. And it doesn't look right now, but it's got to be sewn. Obviously once it's sewn it will sit like that. Okay, so that's it guys. You just do your pleats, obviously all your stab stitching and filling or whatever you're going to do, and that's kind of how you do it. I mean, I haven't finished it, but I will finish it and I'll post it a couple of days later just so you can see it finished. But I mean, it will just looks like the one I've done already. So good luck, and post all your pictures for me to see. Okay, thank you, bye.